Welcome back, my friends, to another episode of TFT Hyperroll from Mission for Tuition. And again, this is from the PBE, so everything in here is subject to change. Before we begin, why do we call it Mission for Tuition? Well, you should know this by now, but it's because we are trying to raise money for our son's middle and high school tuition. We don't take donations. We just look for you, the viewer, to help with the YouTube algorithm. Like, comment, subscribe, do all of that good stuff to help get more views so we get more money for tuition. And with that said, let's get started. This game opened up by giving me 2 challengers right off the top and also a Zillion, who is a clockwork. So I immediately looked at it and went, I have a Camille, I have a second challenger, I have a Zillion. I think I know what I want to try to do. But of course, before you commit, you want to see what augments you get and if they'll fit into your plan. And it gave me a challenger emblem as an option. And that just seemed like the fates calling to me, yes, you need to go challenger. You need to try this build out. Now, I've seen other people do this build before, and I had wanted to try it, and I hadn't had the perfect opportunity, so I got into this hoping it was going to go as planned. While we're going through this first fight, I want to go over a little bit about these particular traits and how they work. Challenger is kind of like the demonic hybrid baby between Duelist and Cavalier. Champions get increased attack speed and then rush quickly to the next target where their attack speed increases even more. Clockwork gives increased attack speed to all allies. So when you combine Challenger with Clockwork, like you do when you have Camille, you get attack speed on top of attack speed, which means they're doing a lot of things a lot faster. Now, your goal in Hyperroll is always to play your best board. I picked up a Giant's Belt off of the item shop and then was able to make a Sunfire Cape, and I brought Trundle into the match. He is getting increased attack speed from the Clockwork, and I've also 2-starred the Camille. Camille is unreasonably strong early in the game, but ultimately she is just an item holder for Fiora, who comes into this build much later on. You'll see how it all works out, but this is a strong early game. Your goal in this type of build is just to pick up any challenger you can. That includes Warwick, Quinn, Samira. They're all challengers and they'll all fit into this. You want as many challengers as possible and at least 1 clockwork to get the extra attack speed. And in this case, with the chance to get a spatula, we are going to pick it up because the spatula does have the ability to make another challenger emblem when you combine it with a bow. Once I picked up the Warwick and I had the ability to go to 4 challengers, I probably should have pulled Trundle out and gone to the 4 challengers and put the Sunfire Cape onto Warwick, thereby giving the challengers a little bit more power, because this ultimately came out to a Zillion versus a Zillion, and their Zillion with that Giant's Belt just had that little extra health that allowed him to win. It's time to choose our second augment, and once I saw it, I know exactly what I wanted to do. The chance to get a Socialite heart along with Challenger is the perfect setup for this build. What Socialite does is gives you essentially, let's call it a magical hex on the screen, which is going to bless your character. It starts with a 20% damage bonus, then goes up to a mana increase, and finally ends with lifesteal. That additional damage, along with the 4th challenger, is going to make Camille even stronger. It doesn't hurt that Ziggs consistently misses his ult and allows everyone to escape getting damaged, and we can ultimately win that fight. We get an item shop and the chance to pick up a bow, which we can pair with that spatula to make another challenger emblem is just a little too tempting. Now, we'll again speed you through this fight because you can see the power that Camille has, and this is without her even being itemized. That Socialite buff is incredibly effective, especially with the Challenger buff as well, and Clockwork. So we're really cleaning up at this point. We get a chance to pick up a second Socialite, or actually our first, because we have our first one from an augment, but we can get Tarek, put the Sunfire Cape on him, and now we've triggered level 2, and Camille will now be gaining additional mana as the fight goes on. This allows her to cast more often, and with the whole team being sped up by the clockwork buff, you can see that they are able to tear through things very, very quickly. You can see Warwick just slashing away and finishing things off. Now the key at level 7 is to call your friend at Riot and make sure you get Fiora and Yone. See, like this. You just make the call, tell them which champions you want, and they'll give them to you. That's how it works for everyone, right? It's time to pick up our third augment, and Thrill of the Hunt 2. That's the one, because we want to be getting as much health back as possible. And it's now time to itemize Fiora, and we don't have the perfect setup. We would want Bloodthirster, Infinity Edge, and Spear of Sojin, but we don't have the items for it. So we go with Infinity Edge, Hand of Justice, and then Last Whisperer. This way she'll be shredding armor, getting some health back, and we hope to get up to that third Socialite, so she'll be getting health back as part of that kit as well. With the addition of Yone, we are now up to the 6th Challenger, and we still have that spatula and a bow ready to go onto someone, so I'm fairly confident we're going to be able to get to 8 Challengers. I'm zooming you in just to watch Fiora, watch how low she gets, and then how much her health comes all the way back once she's done with her ult. She is just a killing machine and can tear a team completely apart, and this is at 1 star. With the chance to pick up Seraphine, it is time to say goodbye to Zillion and put in Seraphine, so we are triggering that third Socialite buff. And that will just add additional healing onto Fiora, which is going to make this even more ridiculous. And while we're at it, we can turn Taric into a Challenger, so next round we just have to put out Camille and we will have the 8 Challengers. Now, it's not that Fiora is indestructible, she's still just 1 star, so when you run into something like this with a whole ton of power behind it, they can get to her, but she will do a ton of damage along the way, and once we get her to 2 stars, you'll really see the force kick in. And I can't stress this enough, make sure to call your friends at Riot so that you can get the champs that you need. We needed Seraphine, we needed Yone to be up at 2 stars, and we need Fiora to be at 2 stars. We had the Nico's help, so we just needed 1 more, and now we've 2-starred everything we need. With this item shop, we want to get more critical damage on our challengers, so we can take this and put it on Yone, who is our 2nd strongest challenger at this point. Now, there's a huge amount of luck that went into this in getting the right augments, in being able to have an additional challenger, and getting the challenger emblems so that we could get to the 8 challengers. And a 2-star Fiora, as you can see, is just unreasonably strong, and from 0 HP can pretty much get back to full by the time she finishes. And with that, we are into the top 4 with actually a really tight top 3, 14, 12, and 10 health. And again, in this fight, I ask you to keep your eyes on Fiora at all times as best as you can. Watch how low her health gets. When she's actually hit, she looks like she's in danger of dying, and boom, just like that, she's back to full health and absolutely destroying the other team with just a few whacks of her sword. You will see at the end that she has an unreasonably high amount of damage. At this point, we're hoping to pick up a healing unit like a Yuumi, there she is, that can attach herself to a Fiora when she gets low and also stun an entire team. We put her out, and then Kaisa, who is an incredibly strong challenger, I end up deciding to swap in for Quinn. Camille is doing some really good work at the front line, and so I decide Quinn is probably the best to take out at this point for the Kaisa. In all honesty, I'm not sure if that was the best call, but it still left us with 8 challengers, so it works. I grabbed the Bloodthirster for Kaisa so she can be super strong. I'm hoping to get her up to 2 stars before we're done. Now, I want to show you something I talked about in the previous set. When you have a Zephyr, wait until the other team comes in before you choose which champion you want to place it on. That way you get to pick out the one that you want out, or at least close to it. If you place it beforehand, they can protect against it. This way they can't. This team we're against is incredibly strong, and unfortunately is able to take us down. I took a gamble on who we would go against and actually was lucky enough to guess well. So I had the Zephyr placed against their Jinx. They had an Enforcer who was able to hold down my Yoni and completely kill him. But Fiora is able to get started and just tears through everything, especially with Seraphine and Yuumi keeping their team stunned. In the end, it's an easy victory. So we are now against the team that owned us just one fight ago. My real goal is to take out that Jinx. I need her gone. So I am hoping to get it right where I place Seraphine. I'm keeping my eye out as best as possible, and I'm thinking they're going to make a move, and they did, right into the spot that I chose. With Jinx out of the fight for a few seconds, that Rage Blade is going to be far less effective, and it's going to give us a chance to get in with our stuns from Yuumi and Seraphine and allow Fiora to just do what she does best and completely destroy opposing teams. It does end up leading to victory. I hope you enjoyed the video. Give this build a shot if you get a chance, and have an absolutely awesome day.